High-level trade talks between South Korea and the U.S. scheduled on Friday in Washington, D.C. have been put on hold due to U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent's urgent schedule. Wrapping up his visit to the U.S., South Korea's national security advisor said his trip involved a dialogue on both security and economic matters, with more detailed discussions set to take place among economic officials. While tariff uncertainties linger, the South Korean economy expanded at the fastest pace since early 2024 in the second quarter, at 0.6%, on the back of a recovery in private consumption and strong exports. The entire nation is sizzling under an extreme heat wave, with Seoul seeing as high as 37 degrees Celsius on Thursday, and it'll only get hotter over the weekend. Trade talks between Seoul and Washington set for Friday have been abruptly called off due to a scheduling conflict for U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Meanwhile, Seoul's national security advisor returned from his visit to the U.S. just hours ago and said negotiations are in the works. Our Park Hyo-bin starts us off.
After a full-day visit to the U.S., Ri Sung-rak, South Korea's national security advisor, returned to Seoul on Thursday afternoon. Ri said that he met with various U.S. officials during his visit and fully conveyed the South Korean government's position.
I talked with key officials, including National Security Advisor Marco Rubio, Deputy National Security Advisor Andy Baker, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, and U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer, to support upcoming working-level talks. The negotiation process is now underway.
The presidential office said we held a phone consultation with Rubio, who apologized for missing their meeting due to an unexpected call from President Trump. Ri's return to South Korea comes after the announcement of trade talks being postponed. Just a week ahead of the U.S. imposing 25% reciprocal tariffs, a 2+2 high-level meeting between the trade and finance ministers from the two countries, scheduled to take place in Washington, D.C., was abruptly cancelled. According to the Ministry of Economy and Finance, the U.S. informed South Korea that the meeting, originally set for Friday, could not take place due to an urgent scheduling conflict with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. The ministry added that the U.S. has proposed rescheduling the meeting in the near future, and both sides are working to set a new date as soon as possible. Finance Minister Koo Yoon-chol was informed of cancellation on Thursday morning at Incheon International Airport, just as he was preparing to depart for the U.S.
Minister Koo won't be departing, so reporters will need to pull out as well. We were told it wouldn't be possible due to an urgent schedule. And then they asked when the earliest possible time might be for rescheduling.
The meeting was to bring together Minister Koo and Yeo Han-gu, chief free trade negotiator, with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer. Despite the cancellation, the South Korean government said Industry Minister Kim Jong-wan and Yeo Han-gu will proceed their scheduled meetings in Washington as planned. With just days before the August 1st deadline when the U.S. will impose reciprocal 25% tariffs on South Korean goods, talks are continuing behind closed doors, but a clear breakthrough is yet to be seen. Park Hyo-bin, Arirang News.
And as countries scramble to strike trade deals with the Trump administration before the August 1st deadline, the U.S. leader raised pressure on trading partners yet again, saying that the tariffs will be lowered only when a country opens its market. Our Lee Seung-jae reports.
U.S. President Donald Trump on Wednesday pressed trading partners to open their markets in order to avoid much higher tariffs from the U.S. The U.S. leader made the remarks in a social media post, stressing that Washington will only lower tariffs if a country agrees to open its market, adding that those that fail to do so will be met with much higher tariffs. Trump also said through such agreements, U.S. businesses will boom. The latest remarks put pressure on South Korea and other countries to find ways to open their markets in exchange for the reduced tariff Trump unveiled in April. Seoul has been pushing to avoid the proposed 25% reciprocal tariffs, as well as sector-specific tariffs on steel, aluminum, and automobiles that would be a major blow to its export-reliant economy. Meanwhile, in touting the recent trade deal made with Japan, which lowers its tariff rate to 15%, U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said the $500 billion investment from Japan in exchange for the lowered rate will give the U.S. the ability to choose where it will be invested. In an example, Lutnick says if Trump decides to create more antibiotics in the U.S., Japan will fund the project and give it to a U.S. business that will operate the project, while 90% of the profits will go to the American taxpayer and 10% to Japan. The White House said Wednesday that the money could be used to invest in key industries.
And these funds will be spent at President Trump's discretion and direction into key industries such as energy, semiconductors, critical minerals, pharmaceuticals, and shipbuilding.
The spokesperson said there are still many more countries that need to strike a deal with the U.S., adding that Washington has sent 25 letters to countries around the world. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
In the meantime, the South Korean economy expanded at 0.6% in the April to June period from the previous quarter, rebounding from the 0.2% contraction in the first quarter. Our Kim Do-yeon has more.
South Korea's real gross domestic product, a key indicator of the economy, grew by 0.6% on quarter in the second quarter of the year. That's according to the Bank of Korea's preliminary data on Thursday. This is a bounce back, as in the first quarter, the nation's real GDP contracted by 0.2% on quarter, with the previous two quarters also showing stagnant growth. On top of this, the quarter two number exceeded market expectations of a 0.5% gain.
This second quarter GDP can be summed up as strong growth driven largely by the private sector, particularly exports and consumption.
Specifically, private consumption rose 0.5% while government spending increased 1.2%. And although still on a downward trend, the rate of decline for construction and facility investment both stood at negative 1.5%. The BOK zoomed in on the increased spending and that it has been gradually getting better, especially with more spending on entertainment.
We're seeing a gradual improvement. Conditions in May were better than in April, and June was even better than May. In terms of services, ticket sales for performances, for example, saw a significant jump. Restaurant demand and spending, which had been sluggish, also showed signs of recovery.
Meanwhile, both exports and imports saw gains. In the second quarter, exports rose 4.2% from the previous quarter, driven by strong global demand for semiconductors and petrochemical products. Imports were also up by 3.8%. The Bank of Korea noted that improved petrochemical exports were partly due to reduced refining capacity in the U.S. and Europe, which increased demand for Korean petroleum products. Pharmaceutical and cosmetic exports remain strong as well, aided by expanded U.S. and EU import approvals and continued global interest in K-beauty. Officials say some of the recent surge came from pre-tariff demand ahead of looming trade measures, though the actual impact of tariffs has yet to fully materialize. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
In other news, SK Hynix reported record preliminary earnings and profit in the second quarter due to high demand in premium AI chips. But Hyundai Motor Group saw a decline in profit due to the 25% U.S. tariffs on automobiles. Our Park Jun-han reports.
South Korean tech giant SK Hynix reported record-breaking preliminary second quarter earnings on Wednesday. The driving force behind SK Hynix strong earnings was its competitiveness in high-value, high-bandwidth memory, a key product in the AI sector. SK Hynix reported an operating profit of 9.2 trillion won, or some $6.7 billion, up 68.5% compared to the second quarter of last year. Its revenues hit a record 22.2 trillion won, or $16.2 billion, a 35.4% on-year surge. SK Hynix's dominance in premium HBM chips has propelled its earnings as it rides the AI wave by supplying tech giants like Nvidia, Broadcom, and Amazon. Meanwhile, Hyundai Motor Group posted a 15.8% drop in operating profit. The 3.6 trillion won operating profit, roughly $2.6 billion, is the steepest decline in 5 years. This comes despite record revenues of 48.2 trillion won, up 7.3%. The main reason for this disparity is the 25% U.S. tariff on automobiles imposed since April, which has hurt the company's profitability despite robust U.S. sales, as consumers bought cars early to avoid expected price increases. Hyundai's global sales grew by 0.8% to 1,065,000 units, fueled by a 36.4% increase in eco-friendly vehicle sales, particularly hybrid cars. However, the costs of tariffs and stronger incentives to stay competitive in the market have squeezed profits, causing the operating profit margin to fall to 7.5%.
In the case of Hyundai and Kia, they haven't raised their U.S. selling prices despite the 25% tariff, essentially not factoring the tariff into their pricing. That puts pressure on their profits. And if the situation continues, it will remain a disadvantage for Hyundai.
With just 8 days left until the August 1st reciprocal tariffs deadline, attention is on how any potential deal will impact Korea's main exports. Park Junan, Arirang News.
U.S. dollar-based stablecoins rapidly gain traction worldwide. Major nations are actively pursuing institutionalization and regulations based on both their own domestic and foreign currencies. And South Korea is no exception. For more, we turn to our economics correspondent Moon Ji-young here in the studio. Welcome, Ji-young.
Good evening, Dami.
So, Ji-young, what exactly is a stablecoin? I mean, what makes it so stable?
Well, Dami, stablecoins are a class of digital assets designed to maintain a stable value. This stability is typically achieved by pegging their price to a fiat currency, such as the US dollar, or to other specific assets. This mechanism crucially differentiates them from highly volatile cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, thereby providing a consistent store of value within the digital realm. Their inherent price stability makes stablecoins highly suitable for a broad spectrum of digital economic activities. They facilitate efficient payments, seamless remittance, and rapid cross-border transactions by circumventing traditional financial complexities and fees. Notably, in regions experiencing fiat currency instability, such as parts of Africa, Latin America, and Southeast Asia, stablecoins are already widely used in the real economy. Their utility further extends across various digital finance sectors, including cryptocurrency exchanges and decentralized finance. If well-designed and appropriately regulated, stablecoins could offer a faster, more efficient, and more inclusive payment option relative to existing payment systems. However, due to their potential financial risks, there is a lot of attention and discussion on the need to legalize and regulate them.
I see. Then let's turn our attention to the global stage. What are the latest movements in the regulation and also adoption worldwide?
So the global push to regulate stablecoins is intensifying, with major economic powers like the US, Japan, and the EU leading the charge. This isn't merely about digital asset oversight. It's more about reinforcing national financial sovereignty and managing the shifting tides of global economic influence. The U.S. made a significant move on July 18th by enacting the Genius Act, which aims to provide a clear regulatory framework. The Act specifies entry requirements for stablecoin issuers and clarifies conduct regulations for user protection, intending to foster innovation in domestic payments while promoting the global expansion of dollar-backed stablecoins. A key provision of the Act also focuses on capital and liquidity requirements, ensuring that stablecoins are fully backed, secure, liquid assets. Crucially, the U.S. is tightening regulations on foreign payment stablecoin issuers. This move signals a potential market exit for stablecoins like USDT, which currently do not comply with U.S. regulatory standards, effectively warning non-compliant entities. Meanwhile, Japan and the European Union are implementing robust regulations specifically targeting foreign-issued stablecoins to safeguard their respective monetary sovereignties. Through its 2023 Payment Services Act amendment, Japan introduced the EPI-ESP system, permitting foreign-issued stablecoins to circulate only if the handling entity accepts liability for potential losses. The EU's comprehensive MiCA regulation mandates that only EU-approved issuers can distribute foreign currency-based stablecoins within the bloc. While their approaches vary, a clear set of common objectives underpins these diverse regulatory efforts, including financial stability, consumer and investor protection, and preservation of monetary sovereignty.
So, Jill, I can tell that the stablecoins are already widely being used in the real economy. Then, how is South Korea approaching in the institutionalization of this specific coin, stablecoins?
So South Korea is actively pursuing the legalization of domestically one-pegged stablecoins. In fact, ruling party lawmakers and the Korea Capital Market Institute held a key policy forum yesterday to discuss integrating stablecoins into the nation's legal framework. Let's take a listen to what a lawmaker had to say.
We are working on the stablecoin bill by establishing a dedicated task force. Through extensive discussions, significant progress has been made in solidifying the direction of the legislation. We anticipate that the bill will be formally introduced sometime next week.
The stablecoin bill is expected to advance based on an authorization system, proposing to raise the minimum capital requirement for stablecoin issuers to at least 5 billion Korean won, or $3.7 million, which is higher than the previous proposal. It also aims to enforce a perpetual one-to-one reserve requirement. Meanwhile, the Bank of Korea has raised concerns over potential side effects.
If one-peg stablecoins are introduced, there could be an issue where their supply creates its own demand. From a broad monetary perspective, if stablecoins are issued, the central bank might not intervene when conducting monetary policy, potentially influencing inflation.
While the Financial Services Commission underscored the necessity of establishing legal protection for domestic users of foreign-issued stablecoins, the Finance Ministry emphasized the critical importance of defining their legal classification, citing concerns over money laundering. Though legislative approaches varied in South Korea, there is a clear consensus on the need for a robust legal framework that balances Korean won sovereignty, financial innovation, and stability.
Indeed, Jiyoung, thank you for that thorough wrap-up tonight.
Thank you for having me.
After seeing mass damage from torrential rain and floods, South Korea is now under extreme heat nationwide, and it's only looking to get hotter in the coming days. Our Pyun Young tells us more.
Korea is experiencing record-breaking heat, with Seoul expected to climb to 38 degrees Celsius over the weekend. On Thursday, the Korean Meteorological Administration issued heat wave warnings for Seoul and other areas of the country. Additional heat wave advisories have been issued as well. For Seoul, this marks the first heat wave warning issued in 11 days. A heat wave warning is issued when the maximum daily perceived temperature is expected to exceed 35 degrees Celsius for at least 2 consecutive days. And a heat wave advisory is issued when the perceived temperature is expected to exceed 33 degrees. A heat wave alert may also be issued when significant damage is expected due to extreme heat. Korea has recently seen an unusual pattern of heat waves and torrential rains, leading to a surge in heat-related illnesses, widespread flooding, and landslides. This has been caused by a combination of factors.
The reason why this year's heat waves in Korea have been particularly severe is due to the air masses that dominate Korea's summer, namely the North Pacific air mass and the Tibetan air mass.
High sea surface temperatures near the Philippines have intensified the North Pacific high, which expanded northwestward this year due to the lack of descending Arctic air. Additionally, reduced snowfall over the Tibetan Plateau and warmer Indian Ocean waters pushed the Tibetan high further north, increasing its impact on South Korea. The heat is expected to get worse over the next few days.
In densely populated urban areas, the urban heat island effect adds to the heat, so actual temperatures in city centers where we live could approach 40 degrees Celsius.
The Korea Meteorological Administration warns of potential atmospheric instability next week due to interactions between typhoons and other systems and urges the public to stay updated and respond accordingly. Pyongyang, Arirang News.
Over in Southeast Asia, Thailand's health minister has said that at least 12 people have been killed and 14 wounded in the country's conflict with Cambodia. Our Cha Young-kyung has this report.
At least 12 Thais, mainly civilians, have been killed as Thai and Cambodian troops exchanged fire on Thursday morning in a disputed border area. The Royal Thai Army said that the deaths occurred in at least 3 different provinces along the Thai-Cambodia border. Thailand has accused Cambodia of firing heavy weapons, such as BM-21 rocket launchers and artillery, into a Thai village and a hospital. Thailand also says it has carried out airstrikes on Cambodian military targets. Both sides have accused the other of firing the first shots. Anti-personnel landmines within Thai territory also caused injuries to Thai soldiers who were patrolling on Wednesday. This follows injuries from a landmine last week. As a result, Thailand has closed its entire border with Cambodia after telling all its nationals there to leave, while Cambodia has downgraded its ties with Thailand to the lowest level.
Now we have escalated the measures to level 4, which involves the complete closure of all border checkpoints along the Thai-Cambodian border.
Thursday's fighting has ramped up a long-standing border dispute between Thailand and Cambodia. Recent border tensions in May led to the death of 1 Cambodian soldier. Cha Young-kyung, Arirang News.
The sun shines strongly all day across the country, resulting in heat wave warnings being strengthened further. Heat wave warnings have been in effect in most parts of the country. It was as hot as around 35 degrees Celsius nationwide. This heat wave will get worse and worse. The daytime temperature will soar to 37 degrees in Seoul tomorrow and 38 degrees on Saturday, which will be the hottest day this year, and the heat at night will get worse. Please be extra careful not to get a heat-related illness with such hot conditions. Tomorrow's Seoul will start warm at 27 degrees, Chuncheon and Gyeongju 23 degrees. Daily highs move up to 35 degrees in Chuncheon and Daegu, Gyeongju 34 degrees. While it will continue to be sunny around the country, Jeju Island is expected to have rain and wind this coming weekend. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
That is all we have for tonight. I'm Kim Dami. For all of us here at Arirang, thanks for watching and good night.